Yes, yes. Welcome in. It's Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you. And Jackson, I'm a banty little rooster today.
Well, you have the floor.
Yeah, I am. I have to be honest with you. First off, let me set the stage here for the program. It's presented to you by Montgomery, St. Louis Acura, Montgomery, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota, stlouisacura.com and altontoyota.com. We want you to get involved. 314-399-9646. Those are the Air Comfort Service text line numbers. 314-399-9646. Got the Balloon Party Mafia gathering in the YouTube channel. That's the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. Let me open that up. 60 people were waiting for us when we opened up the microphones. Yeah, including Cat Dad Gamer, Tiny PP, and Jen Foam. Oh, it's a girl. It's great.
Jen Foam.
All right. I know you probably had an unbelievable Little Piddles half and half.
Tuesday therapy.
Oh, wow. That's new.
Yeah.
Not alliteration.
No, but some first letters are the same, but that would not be alliteration because they don't sound the same.
Oh, Mike Claiborne Lemming,
Claibs.
Just posted the John Mozeliak interview on the Twitter tweets on claibsonline.com. But that's why I'm a banty rooster. I have to. This essentially is. You know what today is, Jackson? Let March 5th, 2024 be the day I give my St. Louis sports State of the Union. And it's focused specifically on the Cardinals and the Blues. And that's, of course, all due respect to City and the Battlehawks and Missouri and the Billikens and ILL and Missouri State and SEMO and Truman State and Merrimack and Lindenwood. Mm-hmm. What just happened 35 minutes ago with John Mozeliak is Exhibit A as to why the local Cardinal fans are either tired of, apathetic toward, or just flat out angry when they think of the St. Louis Cardinals. And it hit me that because the local fans hear this stuff on a relatively speaking regular basis and have become disenchanted with it, to say the very least, or pissed off, to say the very most. And the national media, who observes the Cardinals simply through the lens of the record, through whether you want to go back to when John Mozeliak took over after Walt Jocketty was fired in October of 2007, or just look at the Cardinal record going back to 2000, or the Cardinal record since Bill DeWitt bought the franchise, goes, wow, look how spoiled people who follow the Cardinals are. They don't hear this, and this is what bothers people. And that is why I want to present a compare and contrast, because Doug Armstrong has what I think could be a contract on his hands with Jordan Kyrou that could be one internally. He's going, oh boy, we got a real problem on our hands, and this could affect the organization for years to come. And or take your pick of whatever defenseman contract that you go, oh boy, that's a problem. And his team was a disaster last year as well. But one guy has a relatively speaking high approval rating based on the recent performance, and I'm talking about Armstrong, and another guy, even though his team won a division title in 2022, I don't know if you could have a lower approval rating for somebody who has a world championship on his resume, a pennant, and then a 100-win season, and NLCSs in 11, 12, 13, 14, and NLCS in 19, and a division championship in 2022. And I'm sure the outside observer on MLB Network or a baseball writer nationally would go, well, Cardinal fans are just spoiled. And I understand that, and I think there's merit to it. But here is a perfect example as to why Cardinal fans get pissed. John Mozeliak speaks at 9:30 Central Time to the assembled media in Jupiter, Florida. It was not a press conference. There's a patio right outside the Cardinal clubhouse. It's where TMA used to do our show from a picnic table that Lance Lynn said he wanted to burn with jet fuel. And so it's not a forum where that can be played live on the air, although hopefully we'll be able to pull audio from it here since the great Mike Claiborne has posted it to claibsonline.com. And John Denton, who is a friend of the show and a regular, tweeted this out with regard to President of Baseball Operations, John Mozeliak. The press conference was called because Sonny Gray left his start yesterday in the second inning with a hamstring strain. And they did an MRI last night in Jupiter, and Mozeliak was addressing the media to let people know the status of Sonny Gray. And this is how it starts. We have had some encouraging news that it's a mild strain. Now, if you read that and you hear that, you go, well, that's great news. The one guy, truly, now it might not wind up playing out this way, but as we sit here on March 5th, you actually asked the question last week, who is the one guy who would have the most negative impact on the Cardinals if he were to get hurt? And I said, well, there's an obvious answer, so you must be thinking about like the second, because the obvious answer is Sonny Gray. To me, that's the obvious answer. I would think most Cardinal fans think that way. It's not a shot at Arenado. It's not a shot at Goldschmidt. It's not a shot at Contreras, whoever you'd want to pick. It's just you have one guy who is an ace caliber pitcher, and then you have what could be a precipitous drop-off. So therefore, if you lose the ace, it's not like you go, well, then we'll just put Michaelis in there. An ace is an ace, and you can't turn another guy into an ace. So this is a big deal if he is hurt. So therefore, as you hear the soundbite or you read his words, you go, well, that's good. We have had some encouraging news that it's a mild strain. But then he goes on to say that he may not be eligible or may not be ready to pitch on opening day. That's in question. It's going to be challenging for him to get there, and starting the year on the injured list is possible. Well, that's not encouraging news unless we're talking about, well, we thought his hamstring might cause him to have to retire. Well, I mean, if our bar is that, then yes, I suppose it's encouraging. But if your ace is going to miss the remainder of spring training, may miss the start of the regular season, may miss so much time that he's on the IL, and you call that encouraging, then we just have a different opinion on the definition of what encouraging is. This is truly problematic. And the thing is, I know he knows that, and the fact that he's overselling it, to me, represents weakness. And I'm not talking about weakness in character or weakness in personality, because I really like the guy. But I'm talking about this as messaging. And that's why, even though Doug Armstrong has not had a great couple of years, Doug Armstrong still has equity with Blues fans because they feel like he shoots them straight. And Mozeliak doesn't, and the Cardinals don't, because Cardinal fans feel like they're getting jacked around. And that is at the core of why there is a discrepancy between the way Blues fans treat the organization and the way Cardinal fans treat the organization. This is not encouraging. This is a major problem. And you go, well, it's okay, they could just be shutting him down for spring training. Then he's going to have to ramp it up to be ready for the regular season. You saw how the World Baseball Classic impacted the Cardinal pitching last year. You saw that. Secondarily, Sonny Gray had 2 IL stints in Minnesota in 2022, both related to his right hamstring. This has been a chronic issue for him. He is their guy. This is not encouraging. Again, encouraging versus his leg being amputated, sure. Encouraging otherwise, I have no idea how it could be encouraging. And the fact that you open up addressing it, that it's encouraging, speaks to me that you're concerned. And that's unfortunate. And it doesn't have to be that way. And in the whole scheme of things, relatively speaking, in a vacuum, this would be immaterial. But so many people on the outside looking in, and it's not on the inside, because on the inside, people get it, because there's a number of years of this. On the outside looking in, whether it be if you're a baseball fan, let's say that's a Pirates fan, you'd go, how in the hell could you people be complaining about the Cardinals? I was playing golf last year out of town, and the guy who was working with me is a caddy playing with me, goes, God, what's it like in St. Louis this year? This was July. And I go, I don't know, it's fine, hot, whatever. And he goes, no, with the Cardinals being no good. He goes, it hasn't happened in so long. I just want to hear what it's like. He goes, you guys just have the greatest. And I go, you're right, but the fan base doesn't feel that way. And I always try to figure out psychologically why that is. And then you have another example like this. And it's because the fan base feels like they're either not appreciated or the organization doesn't shoot them straight. And these are self-inflicted wounds that unfortunately has created a chasm between the organization and the fan base. And that organization is actually a key thread in the fabric of the culture of St. Louis. And yet there's distrust between the two, and that sucks. And it's not just because of today, of course. This has been going on for a number of years. But this is yet another log on the fire. There's nothing encouraging about this unless you honestly thought he was going to be done for the year. There's nothing encouraging about your ace, the big acquisition of the 2023-2024 offseason, going on the IL, possibly missing his start, and his ability to get ready for the season now being quote-unquote challenging. That's not encouraging. There's no way to even try to spin that to an educated person that that's encouraging. And unfortunately, therefore, it insults people's intelligence. And honestly, I just don't get too worked up about things all that often. But when I see this is what I get worked up about, because I'm not going to challenge somebody's effort, because I don't know what their effort is. But when I do spot something that's BS, I got to call it. And I see this as BS, and I think it's really unfortunate. Anyway, that's where I am. 314-399-9646. Your thoughts are welcome. Air Comfort Service text line. You're also welcome to talk it over in the YouTube chat. We'll talk this over more. Hopefully have the audio for you as well. This is Balloon Party, driven by Munganess, St. Louis Acura, Munganess, Burkhardt, Alton Toyota on 101 ESPN. Welcome back. This is Balloon Party 101 ESPN. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you, whereas Facebook and Instagram are down.
Yeah, Meta.
Parent company having an issue. YouTube is still up, so you can watch us on YouTube 101 ESPN. And great news. My understanding from the YouTube chat is my left nipple is erect. So tune in to see that. But the right one, not as prominent. Kind of fun. We'll do a study at 10:35 as to why that is. So that'll be kind of like Mr. Wizard's World. But in the meantime, we have Mike Claiborne. Claib's online. I'm a Mike Claiborne lemming through and through. You give me Mike Claiborne and Kelly Chase telling stories, and I'd pay a lot of money just to hear that. ClaibsOnline.com posted this audio of John Mozeliak talking about Sonny Gray, our opening topic today on 101 ESPN.
Tell me when everyone's ready.
Ready.
All right, well, good morning. Obviously, you guys were all in attendance yesterday. You saw that Sonny came out of the game. We have had some encouraging news that it's a mild strain. I'm not going to put any return to play yet on it. Obviously, it's less than 24 hours, so we're just going to see how he responds over the next few days. But from the MRI reading, we are definitely encouraged. So, fingers crossed this isn't going to be something that lingers too long.
Is this something that happened during the game?
He felt it on that pitch. And, I don't know if you were there or not, but, I felt like watching it at first, I was like, it might have been a cramp, but then when the manager came out and Dusty came out, you could see that he was reaching down at his hamstring.
This is the same hamstring he had issues with a couple of years ago. Can you learn anything from that, how you recovered from that, or the severity of it?
Less than what he experienced prior. But obviously, a perfect day is when no one gets hurt and, you come out and get your work in. So, it's unfortunate, but, certainly could have been worse.
John, how relieved are you guys that it's this grade? It's not something that maybe will knock him out a long time?
Well, again, we talk about spring training and the importance of what we're doing here, and our fingers are always crossed that that you don't have injuries, but this is something that's going to slow him down, but we don't think it's going to be something that's going to go deep into the season by any means.
There you go. So you gotta be paying close attention to it, but to start out with encouraging, and then as the press conference goes on, and there was about 5 minutes worth of it, he says that he may not be able to make his opening day start. That's going to be challenging, and that he may open the season on the IL. And my position is, I don't know how you could describe that, is encouraging, and I actually now feel even more strongly about it, because do you know why? Because he said when he saw it happen yesterday, he thought it might just be a cramp.
Right.
So it's not like. Anyway, if anything, honestly, I'm a little more concerned about it because I'm thinking to myself, you're overselling how long-term it's going to be okay. Well, if that's your bar, then yeah, fine. But that's not the issue. This is the guy who finished second in the American League in the Cy Young. This was your move. And if you lose him for a sustained amount of time, or if he continues to have issues with it throughout the course of the season, and he had issues with it to the tune of 2 IL stints in Minnesota in 2022, this can be a problem. This is not like an ankle and, he hasn't had a problem with it. He's had a problem with it, and he is 34 years old. So these are things that you have an obligation to monitor. And I am of the opinion that the framing of it conveys concern. That's my premise. Maybe I'm wrong, and if I am, I will certainly acknowledge it, because I'd like to think that if you have listened to this show for 26, 27 months, I don't just come in here and scream just to scream, and I'm not screaming anyway, but this is at the core. It's not about Sonny Gray. It's about the core of messaging that has led to skepticism/distrust between an organization that has had a hell of a run over the last 25 seasons, but a fan base that is growing more and more frustrated and or apathetic, which is perhaps a bigger issue. Jackson, your thoughts?
Yeah, when your entire pitching or your entire offseason was dedicated to we got to get pitching, we got to take care of that. You go get a guy who, to their credit, second Cy Young voting last year, good pitcher, really good pitcher at his best, and he gets injured in spring training during, one of his first starts, and it's an injury that had already been there prior on a leg that's pretty important to a right-handed pitcher. There's concern there. And to say anything otherwise, yes, it is better news than he had a more serious injury. But to spin it as it's encouraging, is just to me. It's just not right. And hope for the best. But you also have to plan for the worst, and I don't think they've done a good job of planning for the worst.
So that then gets into what I'm seeing in the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, theories that, well, if they did say that it was real serious, then there would be pressure from the fans to go out and sign either the defending Cy Young winner or the guy who just helped the Texas Rangers, who we saw here in St. Louis. Rangers win a World Series, Jordan Montgomery. And so it tamps it down. With respect to that, not that the Cardinals are one of the teams, but Bob Nightingale reporting in a conversation with Scott Boras, who obviously is under fire for the fact that his clients have not had the greatest offseason, meaning he hasn't had the greatest offseason, saying that 4 teams have contacted him since the start of spring training who had not contacted him during the offseason. He, of course, doesn't name those teams. But the one thing that I will say, if you want to look for a positive spin on this, and I'm talking about an actual positive spin as opposed to trying to sell people on something, and that would be if the Cardinals do have some real concern about Gray, and I think they may, based on that press conference, then perhaps they'd be more apt to go out and get Montgomery or Snell, who may be way more apt now to take a Bellinger-like deal.
Yep.
And for those not familiar with it, the Bellinger deal is a $3 or $80 million deal, theoretically, for the Cubs. But Bellinger has the ability to opt out after both the first year and the second year. In other words, if he goes off and he sees his market going up, he can go, that's great, I'm going to make a lot of money here over the next couple of years, but I can make more by opting out. Then perhaps Snell or Montgomery sitting here going, man, it's March 5th. I don't have a team. The Cardinals going to be a good team based on the division in particular, and they're going to give me take your pick, and I can have that kind of bridge deal as well. Maybe what took place with Sonny Gray yesterday is an impetus for the Cardinals to be more involved with Montgomery and Snell. And if that's the case, I would tell you, then that is a great thing.
That's encouraging.
Because, and I do see this as being a possibility.
Yeah.
Because they can't be in a spot where, listen, I don't think they're going, oh, God, Sonny Gray's done for the year and we're going to lie. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying to call it encouraging, I find to be consciously misleading. Because encouraging would not be possibly missing opening day. Opening day is not next week. Starting the season on IL is not encouraging. And it's an injury that when he was on the IL 3 times in 2022, 2 of them were because of the same thing he left the game from yesterday. You can't tell me that's encouraging. But either way, if the Cardinals go, we cannot, with the instability in the television deal, we cannot be in a position in which we go through 2024 like we did 2023, albeit an afterthought in the St. Louis market for attendance and concession revenue. We have to show some signs of competition this year, and the division is certainly there for the taking. Maybe this gives them an incentive to go out and try to do one of those Bellinger-style deals with one of those 2 guys.
Yeah.
There is my, I don't want to call it a conspiracy theory.
Devil's advocate.
It's not even devil's advocate. I'm just going, yeah, that would make sense. The Gray injury is the only thing I think that could have led them to doing that, because otherwise I don't think they would have done it. And I'm not saying that they are. I'm just saying logic would dictate. I think they have to be on guard for that spot, because if you lose Gray, the ceiling for this season drops and the floor drops perhaps even more.
Yeah, and just to add something else on there, and this is maybe a little bit big-brained, but you display this, talking about encouraging. If you do the opposite and maybe be like, well, yeah, this is not what we wanted to hear, and you're Scott Boras, your eyes are leaking with water.
Sure.
I mean, you're fired up.
Giolito's got an injury now, too. I mean, this is what the thought process was. Okay, now that spring training started, let's just wait for the injuries because they're going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you get the pressure from the fan bases where the pitcher has the injury. But I'm telling you, no organization in baseball, no organization in baseball that wants to portray itself as a championship contender. And immediately right there, you just cut off like half because half are not even competing. But the Cardinals are portraying themselves as a championship contender, and they're certainly a Central Division contender. But, me and 8 of my friends would be a Central Division contender. That you can't go into a season and losing or risking Sonny Gray when your next best is, I gather, Miles Michaelis.
Yeah.
And then your next best is a guy in Lance Lynn, I guess. I don't know if you take Kyle Gibbs. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can make a case, I guess, for any of the three, and you can make a case against any of the three. Point being, it drops down that much, and you're a contender. It's one of the best case scenarios for Boris. Because even if the Cardinals aren't real, you can portray that the Cardinals are now in the mix for these guys when you're negotiating with a team that may be real. And the Red Sox have been attached to Montgomery, and Snell has had, the Yankees thing lurking out there. Now you can have yourself a little stalking horse in the case of the Cardinals with the Gray situation. So positive development from the Scott Boras, Jordan Montgomery, Blake Snell standpoint. So with that all said, your thoughts, 314-399-9646, Air Comfort Service text line, and the YouTube chat. Got a nice win last night for the Blues to talk about as well in the second half of the program. It is Balloon Party, 101 ESPN. Munganess St. Louis Acura, Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota, presenting sponsor of Balloon Party on 101 ESPN and the 101 ESPN YouTube channel. It's Munganess St. Louis Acura, Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota, where I go to get my cars and where I would love to see you get your cars as well. All you got to do to go shopping is go online at stlouisacura.com and go check the new and pre-owned vehicles they have on their lot. And of course, you can also go online at Alton Toyota to check out the vehicles they have, both new and pre-owned, on their lot. And if you have any questions or requests, this number will take you right to the people in charge, and you can text them or call them. And here is the number. It goes as follows: 314-252-0029. That's 314-252-0029. It's Munganess, stlouisacura.com, and Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota online at altontoyota.com. Munganess St. Louis Acura and Munganess Burkhardt Alton Toyota.
This is Action Jackson with a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues win last night in a shootout, defeating the Philadelphia Flyers final score of 2-1. Back-to-back as the Blues are back again tonight. You can catch that game right here on the home of the Blues 101 ESPN as they head to Long Island to take on the Islanders. You can catch that game right here 101 ESPN. Pregame starts at 5:30. Puck drop at 6:30. And last night in the NBA, the Bulls defeat the Kings 113-109. Kobe White, 37 points. That was their SportsCenter update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at Londoff.com and LondoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Welcome back to McKernan with you to the top of the hour. The great Jackson Burkett has assembled a Little Piddles Tuesday therapy?
Yeah, a little therapy session.
John Mozeliak speaking earlier from Jupiter on what has been our topic for the entirety of Balloon Party to date, on the club possibly looking into signing other pitchers now that Sonny Gray may indeed miss the start of the season. Quote, I definitely feel it's not something. I like that. I definitely feel it's not something. It's like when I'm litigating something with my 6-year-old. I go, okay, I'm all in. That's what I did. I go, okay, all right. And Mom said I didn't have to take a shower tonight. I'm going to give you a choice right now. You can either acknowledge you're lying to me, or you're going to go upstairs and we're both going to learn you're lying to me in front of Mom. It's up to you. And then he decides.
Yeah, he folds.
He folds right then. But either way, I definitely feel it's something, I definitely feel it's not something that is required at this point. Obviously, if something changes, we'd have to look at it differently, but we're not thinking we'll have to do anything now. So there is the answer to the question with regard to the need to go out and sign somebody with Sonny Gray, possibly starting the season on the IL. And with regard to Ali Marmol's perspective on it, this coming from John Denton, friend of the program, he is asked who could fill Sonny Gray's opening day start. Denton says Marmol said the following, quote, when you think of opening day, it's a matter of somebody who's not going to scare. There's a lot going on opening day. It's different than any other start, and we have guys who will handle that just fine. So there you go. On his optimism over Sonny Gray's mild hamstring strain, Marmol said, quote, part of it is it could have been a lot worse. Thankfully, he stopped when he did and didn't try to pitch through it or make another pitch, so that's part of it. And with regards to the fact that this kept Gray on the IL 2 different times in Minnesota in 2022, Mozeliak said this is less pain than what he experienced prior, but obviously a perfect day is when no one gets hurt. It's unfortunate, but it could have been worse. I like that. That's kind of like a mantra, like with a girl I dated when I was in my 20s and she was in her 20s, and she did a lot of yoga and smoked a lot of weed, and everything always could have been a lot worse, you know, and I always would say, oh, it could be a lot better. But she was more peaceful and optimistic.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's the Cardinals. Namaste to the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
Jackson, do you have this Tuesday therapy? And let's talk Blues hockey as they get a Jim Dandy last night. And personally, I think it was your power play coaching that led to the win.
Yeah, no power play goals.
Right, but still.
But still, we saw some separation there with Kevin Hayes' first goal, a goal that I legitimately think I could have scored.
Wow. Coming after Kevin Hayes, he gets his first goal in 19 games, and you come right after him in his return to Philadelphia.
Yeah,
my God. Torts is coming for you, too.
Let me rephrase that with his busted hand. Let me rephrase that. If I tried to score a goal in hockey, that's what I would look like.
That's the goal you would.
Except it wouldn't go in. Because he, essentially just tripped and the puck went through the wickets.
Hey, it was a Jim Dandy that got him to overtime, and then the shootout, and hey, how do you do? Pavel Buchnevich with the goal. Jordan Binnington stops 40 of 41 shots, and the Blues win their second straight.
Buchnevich made up for one because he had a wide open goal there in the first period.
Look at you, Peter Puck again. What's going on here? Is this new love interest of yours like Manon Rayom or something?
No. I told you. She asked what the power play was. No, when Doug is out on TMA.
You feel like you need to pack a lunch.
At least know what happened.
Now, why don't you feel that way about this show?
Oh, because, you got that.
Because I got it. But I'm on that show, too.
Yeah, but I feel like it would be a
further questions.
A more isolated thing on TMA because you'd be talking to like four guys who have no idea.
There's like 4 or 5 other people on the show.
I know, but then if no one watches it, like you're literally on an island. If I didn't watch it here, it's the Balloon Pirates and McKernan. Just let you cook,
Right,
So I feel like there's a little bit of a difference.
I don't follow the reasoning at all. But nonetheless, I'm sure you have a question, and I'm happy to answer it.
Sure. First, how good was Jordan Bennington last night?
He has been... I'm telling you, I know you got more, because you said first of all. But here's the one. Of course, I want him in the playoffs, even though I really want him to trade Buchnevich. It's a really weird take, but I'm comfortable with it. I've compartmentalized it. Like, if they don't trade him, I'll be like, okay, fine, let's just... And here's the reason. Like, if they were a team where you're going, oh, God, which Blues fans from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s can take your pick of Blue, and even Ryan Miller a decade ago, where you go, oh, God, the goaltender killed us. Roman Turek and Owen Nolan from out by the dumpster, take your pick of whatever nightmare scenario you would have. John Casey, Yzerman, 1996, whatever, Jackson, whatever it is. On the other side of it, when you have a goaltender who is in a zone, I don't care how good the team is that they're playing, he can steal a series, and you need look back no further than 2 years ago with what he was doing against the Avalanche. And keep in mind, he didn't even start this previous series against the Wild. That was Ville Husso. So when Binnington gets in a zone, Binnington can steal a series. So while I want them to continue the hashtag retool and trade Buchnevich, if they do get into the playoffs, and I wouldn't consider it. Have you looked at your friend
Money Puck?
I'd be curious where they are now. I mean, they're 5 points back of both the Kings and the Predators. Kings have a game in hand on the Blues. Blues have a game in hand on the Predators. But with that all said, if they were to get in, I mean, I realize there are some talented teams in the Western Conference, but still, I would love to see Jordan Binnington get a shot because last night was yet another clinic, and he was, the number one star on Saturday against the Wild. What do we have on Money Puck?
We like to play guessing games. Would you like to guess?
I do. I enjoy a good guessing game. I enjoy arbitrary percentages, perhaps more than I should. I will say 12%.
12%. This is to get into the NHL playoffs. The Blues on Money Puck as of today are 7.5%.
Wow, it's dropping. They won 2 games in a row. It's dropping.
It was 9%, and they won 2 games, and they went 10 to 7.5. But it's a war of attrition.
Oh my goodness. All right.
My question, following up on Binnington was, what do you think the mindset is of players right now? Because they're kind of in this weird spot where they're playing pretty good hockey. They're kind of still in the playoff hunt, but likely they're going to trade Buchnevich, who has been so vital for them recently.
I don't think it's likely. You hear
possible,
where I am.
Possible. Let me say,
it's possible. I think if I actually had to bet, God, I don't know. I feel like there's so many.
That's my third question.
There's so many dominoes on it. Pierre LeBrun yesterday on The Athletic said that the word around the league is Armstrong is asking for what the Canucks gave up to the Flames to get Lindholm, and whether or not that's really realistic a price teams willing to pay. But man, would it be great if they did? And if not, there's Armstrong's comfortable just going with it. He's in a position of strength. That's what he's representing, a real position of strength, not it's encouraging that our opening day starter is out, position of strength, a real one. And he's fine, we'll hold on to him. Who knows? Because maybe they trade Kyrou in the offseason. That clears up money to sign Buchnevich. Who knows? But if somebody wants to overpay for him, we'll trade him. That's the thing about this team. And I'm trying to think of there'd be a super high scoring team, but you go, oh my God, they've got a guy who's, such a liability in net. You feel like you could be a great team and be eliminated in the first round. I think some of you might point to the 2000 Blues as an example. I realize not everybody's old enough to recall that team, but that was the Roman Turek adventure with a great team in front of them. McInnes and Pronger, President's Trophy winning team. This is a different set of circumstances, but you are really reliant on Jordan Binnington. I mean, that is what this team is. 41 shots, and they get 1 goal. And the Blues had 26 shots, and it has to go to a shootout. But with regard to the likelihood of it, Jackson, I know what I want it to be. I still think it's over 55%, and I think I'm in the minority though of people who think that. That's my read.
Can I get a little Piddles take here?
If it's a hockey take, I think people are going to pull up their chairs and put on their bibs.
I guess 2 things. 1, Flyers incinerate the uniforms you wore last night.
I appreciate your hockey sweater takes more than anything else.
Those Halloween pumpkin-ass joints, get those out of there. Those are terrible. Those were awful. I'm not a big fan of the regular ones with a nameplate on the back, but they're better than the black and orange things you wore last night. Bad. Secondly, I look here at this whiteboard, Tim, and I wrote down my kind of math on it, the kind of way it should be done, and I've seen that it's now been erased, and I feel like that's a major moment. Like this, we should get.
Well, we should have cameras in here. Who do you think did it? You can't blame Jamie Rivers, your once ally, who's on the road with the boys.
My erstwhile ally. Yeah, my erstwhile ally.
That's right.
No, I don't know who. It doesn't matter who did it.
What if it was Marshy Marsh and the Playful Posse?
Man, that would be just disappointing. Because
no more picnics in the park for you boys watching soccer.
They didn't wipe off the math that Russell Crowe wrote in The Beautiful Mind.
Oh,
no,
that's nice. That's a nice
they put it in textbooks, just like they should do with what I did yesterday on the power play.
No, that's something that I'm sure a lot of coaches are going to use. That's unfortunate. Hopefully you got a screenshot of it and you can recreate it.
Yeah, and I'll complain in the newspaper some about it.
Thank you very much. That's Jackson Burkett, unhappy and creating radio wars inside the building, attacking our peers here. Your thoughts are welcome, 314-399-9646. You're also welcome to participate in the chat in the YouTube 101 ESPN channel. The cameras are sponsored by the Air Alliance team. We'll take a commercial break, come back with our final segment of Balloon Party for the day, Sonny Gray Day, here on 101 ESPN. Welcome back to the program. Tim McKernan, Jackson Burkett with you for another 8 minutes, and BK and Ferrario take over for the top of the hour. Well, more baseball injury news breaking this morning. And I'm curious, Jackson, and I'm curious what our audience thinks on this, how it could impact things, because the thought process that has been out there is that the Red Sox were the odds-on favorite to bring in Jordan Montgomery, the former Cardinal who went to the Rangers and won a World Series with Texas. Well, this morning, Lucas Giolito, who was signed to a 2-year deal, could miss the entire season with a partially torn UCL. And so then what your initial reaction probably may be is, well, gosh, that'll do it.
Yeah.
They're going to go get Jordan Montgomery. But you know what I say, Jackson? Hold on a second. Come here.
Okay.
Jackson's getting up. He's making his way over.
Nope.
All right. There you go.
Comfy.
Move over. Yeah, my inner thigh. I would tell you this. The Red Sox, and I know people may, if you're not like monitoring the American League East, you're going, well, the Red Sox are always in the mix. This year, the Red Sox are not thought to be in the mix. The Red Sox are thought to be a potential disaster, especially in a difficult division. And Jared Carrabis, who is he's a big Red Sox guy, Jackson.
Yeah, currently freelance.
He was with Barstool, then went to DraftKings, and is now free agent.
Much like Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery.
Nice. He said, people thinking if Lucas Giolito is done for the year, that it'll increase the odds of the Red Sox signing Jordan Montgomery. I wouldn't get your hopes up. John Henry didn't believe in this team, even with Giolito. In his mind, he has even less reason to supplement this roster now. I could not agree more with that perspective. Now, maybe I will be proven wrong on that, but if he was hesitant to go sign Montgomery or Snell with what the roster is of the Boston Red Sox, which is not really impressive, and I realize plenty of you might not be familiar with what they have, but there are some prospects who are playing. But as far as what their team is for 2024, it isn't looking real good, especially the division they're in.
Yeah. Yep.
I would think that they're going to go, okay, we're out. And so now we come full circle, friends. How we started the program. Sonny Gray and the Cardinals. John Mozeliak and Oli Marmol addressing the media this morning in Jupiter, Florida. John Mozeliak labeling the news of the MRI exam as, quote-unquote, encouraging. For those of you just joining us, you go, oh, that's great to hear. He left the game yesterday. Looked like it might be a potential problem. That's great to hear that it's encouraging. I pointed out that the same injury that caused him to leave the game yesterday was his right hamstring, which caused him to have 2 IL stints in 2022 with the Minnesota Twins. That on the surface was concerning. But John Mozeliak opened up his press conference by calling it encouraging. So I thought, oh, well, then that's good news. Except then he went on to say that he may miss his opening day start, may start the season on the IL, and that it's going to be challenging for him to get ready for the start of the season. Therefore, I would say, if we're listing pros and cons, I would say, well, we have a clear list of cons that's greater than the pros, so I don't know how we can define the news as encouraging, but we're living in some kind of bizarro world here. Bringing it forward to the Montgomery discussion and the Boston Red Sox and the Lucas Giolito news that just came out this morning. If the Red Sox are now out on Montgomery, and it's not like 28 other teams outside of the Cardinals and the Red Sox are going, let's bid for him. I mean, do you think like the Pirates are going, well, maybe. Then perhaps Montgomery becomes more apt to take the Cody Bellinger-like bridge deal. You see what I'm saying? Because if the one suitor that was legit for him goes, oh, man, we didn't really like our chances with Giolito, and now he might be done for the year.
Pack it in, yeah.
Then you just kind of eat it. And that would be the smart thing to do, I think, if you're the Red Sox. But from the Cardinal perspective and the rest of baseball perspective and Scott Boras and Jordan Montgomery perspective, and also it impacts Blake Snell because there's one less suitor, which now means the suitor could be pursuing Montgomery. Now it might change the math. And maybe that leads to circumstances in which the Cardinals get one of these guys for what could wind up being a one-year deal, or the Bellinger bridge-like deal that he signed with the Cubs. So all of these pieces are interrelated. I would tell you that whether or not Giolito got hurt, and that could impact the Montgomery situation with the Red Sox, I would say that's irrelevant. But then you had the Sonny Gray news, and that is what changes the arithmetic from my perspective. So keep an eye on this situation. John Mozeliak, for the record, said the Sonny Gray news does not lead him to now say the team needs to go out and sign somebody, just for the record, with respect to that. Ali Marmol certainly does not sound like he thinks Sonny Gray is going to be making the opening day start. He was wandering through the idea of who would be getting the opening day start, and he said, quote, "When you think of opening day, it's a matter of somebody who's not going to scare. There's a lot going on opening day. It's different than any other start, and we have guys who will handle that just fine." That certainly is a matter of opinion. I mean, assuming that the same 4 guys who are left over after Sonny Gray, if he is out of the mix for opening day in Los Angeles, I don't know how it's not Miles Michaelis.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I mean, but I guess he's just not saying that yet.
Well, they've been deliberate with Matt's, Tim.
And he will make his opening day debut, or his spring training debut, this weekend. Lance Lynn also going to make it.
Yeah, Matt's was scheduled to pitch on the back end of Sonny Gray yesterday, and I guess that just didn't work out.
They just keep delaying it, so yeah. He will be out there. This is quite a development today. This is quite a development. Yeah. So keep an eye on it. Again, it'd be one thing if he tripped and it was an ankle thing, but this is a hamstring that caused him 2 different IL stints, both at the start of the 2022 season in Minnesota and at the end of it, and then he exits his spring training start in St. Louis. But John Mozeliak is terming it as encouraging. So maybe my read is off, and maybe his is correct, and Sonny Gray will go out and be ready to go in Los Angeles here in 3 weeks from Thursday, if my math is correct. Yeah. All right, time for us to shut it down. BK and Ferrari are coming up next. Jackson and I are going to be live on YouTube with the Tim McKernan Show podcast in about 20 minutes. That's youtube.com/TMASTL. It's the Tim McKernan Show. It's sports, but also all kinds of nonsense. And that is the Tim McKernan Show podcast, which you can subscribe to, and the TMA podcast, which you can subscribe to. It all comes through there, along with Balloon Party, which is a podcast sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. For Jackson Burkett, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been Balloon Party on 101 ESPN, driven by Mungan S. St. Louis Acura.